Welcome to another AMA with Kadena Project Network. In this episode, we will be speaking with the team from Crankk. This conversation was recorded on July 15th, 2022, live on Twitter Spaces. The views and expressions in this AMA do not represent the views of KPN directly and are not to be considered as financial advice. Please make sure to do your own research on the projects presented. Also make sure to follow our account to be alerted of new uploads. Now let's get started. Enjoy.
Hey Crankk, is this Peter that's going to be speaking with us today?
Hey, this is Peter.
Awesome. Glad to have you on.
Thank you.
And sorry if it sounds like a bit loud. I'm in the car right now, so
Yeah, totally fine.
appreciate that. We're going to get started in like 4 or 5 minutes.
Sounds good.
All right, I think we're going to get started now. If you just don't mind confirming that I'm speaking, that it's coming through to you guys, because I'm in the car right now. I'm not sure if I'm getting disconnected or if my phone's getting too hot or anything like that.
You sound perfect.
Okay, thank you. So, thank you for coming on with me today, Peter. I'm glad to have you on. Crankk is one of the more interesting projects building on Kadena right now. I'm in like a silent development phase for a while, and I'm really excited to just talk through, Crankk and what it's doing for Kadena, what it's going to do for crypto, stuff like that. So, if you don't mind just introducing yourself and what Crankk is.
Sure. Well, first of all, thank you for having me. My first AMA, probably in my life. New experience, but thank you for that. Crankk is a proof of coverage LoRaWAN network solution. Shorter version is a Helium clone. At the same time, we built it from the ground up. Thought about what crypto can do and how to achieve distributed solutions leveraging crypto. And I learned about Kadena like 2 years ago, and I really liked a couple of facts about it, like there's a database behind it and the multi-chain. So all those and other factors really convinced me that this is something that is probably a very good candidate to build on. And this is not the first idea that I had regarding what to build on Kadena. But after a couple of iterations, I thought that this idea could have the best chance of succeeding in the short term and long term. So here we go. Here we are. We launched about a month ago, or a little more than a month ago, and we were very glad and surprised at the immediate attention of people and of the community. And really, people had to probably jump in blind, and they did. And then we are very grateful for that. So we got a good start. We got our 15 minutes of fame, and then we are working hard to get our 15 days, and then hopefully 15 months, and so on. That's my initial introduction. What about me? I live in the U.S. In the Portland area, and originally I'm from Hungary. Previously, I worked a lot on IoT, especially LoRa as well. And as I said, got interested in blockchain technology and Kadena. So I thought I was in a good spot and had a good background, experience, and knowledge to develop a project like this.
Awesome. Yeah. Thank you for the introduction. And Action, I've added you as a speaker. Thank you for coming on. If you want to just jump in and say anything.
All right, sorry, I was just trying to switch my Wi-Fi's here. Hopefully you guys can hear me okay.
Yep.
Hear you great.
Awesome. So I jumped up because I want to make sure everybody understands that this is like the extra early information that Sandy brought to you by KPN here, because at the end of the day, this is just getting off the ground, and this is one of those projects that you definitely want to be in. And you guys know, if you know me, you know I have a few, more than a few, hotspots from Helium. So as soon as I heard Kadena, and Laura, I was like, I am in. And I will be honest and say, Peter, you're not going to you're not going to make yourself justice by trying to talk about what you've done. His accomplishment, guys, like Peter has really done so much and has so much experience in the space. Even if he doesn't give himself enough credit, just to see the things that he's built and how robust this system already is, it's pretty incredible. If you guys know, Helium, the biggest downfall is that they try to build their own blockchain, which is super clunky and is down most of the time. So this is like a very, very needed thing, and everybody's looking for it. And you guys know about it first.
Yeah, and I agree. Another problem with Helium is also the manufacturing side. There's a backlog of miners, like a huge backlog of miners and hotspots all over the place. So I think they're kind of behind on that. But that I kind of want to go into that, Crankk. So, Peter, do you mind kind of explaining to us how the manufacturing process works?
Sure. I mean, as you said, we just got started, and it's very early stages. But we already been contacted by a couple of manufacturers, and then also there's a lot of people already mining Helium. A lot of questions regarding will it be possible to convert, etc., etc. So I wish. I'm hoping to give optimistic answers and then positive answers to all those questions. And yeah, we are working hard to make all or most of these things possible. You mentioned that we opted for leveraging the Kadena blockchain, and this is something that I thought about, and then really didn't feel like building our own blockchain, especially when even the idea didn't come from let's do a Helium like something, but to build something on Kadena, because I found it so exciting. And yeah, I think that we have a plan, and then we are gonna follow through. To me it all looks possible, like growing in terms of nodes, and establishing partnerships with manufacturers, and getting to developing a process that will enable us to follow a very quick growth trajectory.
So far from, I've spoken to a few people who have either ordered miners or have you guys host them, and yeah, pretty cool stuff. And it's really like cool because I was not expecting to see something like this on Kadena, and you guys kind of popped out of nowhere for me. I'm not sure about other people, but yeah, I found you guys a couple months ago. Someone brought it up in a chat, and yeah. But yeah, you guys are like for a project this early into Kadena, and how you guys have been developing. Like I thought this was years down the line, so just wanted to kind of congratulate you guys on your active development. So, how many developers do you really have working on the project?
I thought you were going to ask team members, because I could have said more than one, but so far I've been the primary contributor, meaning like I wrote all the code so far on the blockchain, for the hardware, for the LoRa infrastructure. So yeah, but I think we are in a good position to grow from here. So I'm actively involving other team members, and as I said, I used to be in this business, IoT and LoRa and Bluetooth and Raspberry Pi and all kinds of devices. So I used to work with multiple developers. So I believe I have a good pool to tap into when it comes to, which is very soon, when it comes to involving other developers. As far as the blockchain part, I really love PaCT, although it's not always it's not rewarding in every minute of the day. But I love its quirks, like the Lisp kind of language, and then throughout the adventure of building Crankk, I really had to learn and find out about other languages, even like Golang, C, C++, all the server side technologies, a lot of JavaScript as well, and as I mentioned, PaCT. So the variety and all the different languages, and then their own attributes. It's really exhilarating.
So if I can just chime in for a second in regards to the development team here, Peter, actually having full length conversations with Peter in regards to what the plan is moving forward, what he's doing. It's no easy feat to accomplish what he's accomplished so far. First off, since you're talking about development, and no, I mean, actually, pun intended, Peter has been able to crank this out. And it's because he's been the guy who knows everything from start to finish, which is rare with a lot of projects. Now, something else that he's probably holding back on is that he has the ability of scaling as needed. So let's say we do have an influx of revenue, more funds, let's say, available for the team. Well, the goal is to scale to make sure that things are getting out there, and scaling has to be at the right time too. You don't want to bring on more and more developers unless you have to, because a lot of times that does slow the process down a little bit. And right now we are, looking at this core setup of Crankk, which is already up and running. It is mining. You can get miners today, and it's really exciting to be able to say that yes, one person started this. Sure, input from other people, as as any person in their right mind, would take, but it's happening. It's, yes, it maybe started with just Peter, but to crank this out, and there's a scalability, availability immediately, as needed as we move forward with this awesome project.
Oh, thank you,
sure.
thank you very much for. Yeah, thank you for making a couple of points, and I wholeheartedly agree. I mean, I work in large teams. I've been doing that all my professional career, and then I learned that starting something, thinking of an idea, and then having a lot of thoughts about, and then contemplating a lot of ideas, and then implementing something, and then getting it off the ground a little bit. That is sometimes easier for a single person having the vision, and then and then in the initial phases execute on that vision. But at the same time, I fully appreciate the need to involve other team members, and we will. But so far, it has worked out. But after a while, it can absolutely slow things down, and then that is not our intention. Our intention to grow as quickly as possible. So it's coming. The time is coming up to involve new team members, and then a couple of developers really soon.
totally see where you're coming from with that. It's really impressive. Like you actually built this from ground up on your own, to be honest, because there's not too much documentation for Pact compared to Solidity or other languages, Move, stuff like that. And I think that's really interesting to me that you built that all to yourself. It's very impressive. So yeah,
Yeah.
I'm glad to see where you guys go.
Regarding the lack of documentation on PACT, you can try reading the interpreter, and then that may help a little. That may help a little bit, although that's kind of an extreme idea. But yeah, lack of documentation. But don't stop there. Obviously, if you're really committed, then as I said, I tried reading the interpreter code and then figure things out that way. But at the same time, there's more and more information available, and also I guess the Kadena Discord, the Pact channel has been useful as well. So there are people there who are willing to help out and give you ideas on how to proceed.
And the
Yeah,
cool
and
right now,
sorry.
this time for the people that are basically doers, right? Right now, Pact, sure, there's not a lot of documentation. So the projects that are going to take off, the things that are going to do well, are going to be the ones that are led by doers, or people that are not going to sit there and go, oh, there's nothing for me to read. I guess I'll just wait. No, it's like, all right, so this doesn't work. Let me try it again. Let me try it again. Figure out how errors work and what things can be, manipulated to resolve problems, one step at a time. And I think Peter's the perfect example of that. I mean, he's been doing this for a long time, and he has the experience to troubleshoot other languages, even like he was just, talking about Golang. It's a matter. Once you're a programmer, it's not just like, oh yeah, I know this language. No, it's I understand how to program overall. Every language has their own quirks, but at the end of the day, it's programming. As long as you understand what you're bound by, what the parameters are, you can go to town and just build. And that's what we're seeing here with Peter.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right.
So
Yeah.
if you guys don't mind me
Yeah.
just
Go ahead.
pitching a little bit. But that's not necessarily a bad thing, because that means that as Pact is a growing language, right? Kadena is a growing blockchain. As more awareness comes, more documentation comes. So it's not a bad thing. And you talked about the interpreter yet, and also builders channel in Kadena Discord, even the Pact channel. There's a ton of different development channels there that people can use to look at Pact documentation, talk to builders, and actual users of Pact. So yeah, like Peter said, don't let it just stop you. Don't let the don't.
I fully agree. You can glean, not immediately, but very soon you can glean that everything is there, what you need, and then you just need to find out how to do things. And then when I mentioned going into the interpreter and then reading some of it, I was really curious about the database binding part of Pact. And then that was really exciting to see how it was done. Because of it, I also had a similar idea to like Timpy, using it to develop a distributed search. But I don't want to delve into that direction. Just mention this, that was one of the reasons I looked into it.
So Peter, I know you said you were looking at doing something like Tempe. And those guys, they have, search engine experience. What drew you to do something when it came to LoRa? Why, try to take, the Kadena blockchain and use it for this application?
Well, as probably a lot of people, I also had a bit of disillusionment with Helium. And then I thought that, if we think about it, I started thinking about it like on first principles, like not trying to read code that those guys wrote, But in terms of, what's needed if we want to do something like this. So I felt it would be a challenge, as well as hopefully a much needed project that people would in best case they would love it. And then thought about my previous experience, and then I thought that, okay, maybe it won't be that easy, but it's not. It is definitely doable. And then as I progressed through the ideas and then the prototypes, I felt more and more encouraged that this is something that can be done. And then I had this idea about Kadena that it's there's so much potential in it, meaning that let's say I'm a builder and I have a bunch of ideas. I felt like I could implement most of those ideas on Kadena. So something like this.
Yeah, awesome. I appreciate your input regarding that, and like I hear a lot of developer stories as I do AMAs, and like what attracts them to Kadena. You know, I want to ask you, how long did it really take for you to, actively develop the project before it got fully launched?
Um, a few months, like let's say 4 or 5 months. I just went back to when I registered Crankk.io, and that was one day before New Year's Eve last year. So if we take that and then consider that we launched it a little more than a month ago, then you could say like 4 or 5 months. But I was building something before that, and I used a lot of the code that I built before for Crankk.
Interesting. Yeah. Uh, I really appreciate you kind of like sharing your story with us. And yeah, you said a few months ago. Wow. That's kind of like a whole new light for me when it comes to you know, like you said you had experience in the IoT space before. Can you name any particular jobs you had, or even just hobbies, anything like that?
Yeah, I had a company back in Europe, and we were developing IoT security solutions. You can think of Bluetooth gateways and LoRa gateways, Bluetooth enabled gateways, and came up with some products, and then marketed and sold those products as mostly security solutions. Like you could use a Bluetooth beacon, a really small one, and smaller than a garage door opener or a clicker. It's I don't know, 20 grams or something, really small ones. And then you could open doors, but I had some ideas like you could password enable it by holding it in one direction and click it, and then hold it in the other direction and click it, and then that would give you a password, that sort of thing. And we combined it with Bluetooth enabled local indoor tracking. Um, Experimented with some AI type of observing movements within a building or multiple rooms within a building, and using all that information to provide like an automated security solution where people don't need to sit in front of camera feeds, and then look for certain events or exceptions, but mostly automated, a little bit AI enabled, and it was all based on Bluetooth and IoT gateways, stuff like that.
Wow. Yeah. Awesome. So, when I think of Helium, I mainly think of like a first generation IoT or LoRa gateway project, right? Then you guys, when you popped up, I was like, oh, okay, so they're trying to be direct competitors with Helium. What can they do better? So if you could just kind of explain the advantages of Crankk over Helium.
Well, I would say that doing less. Doing more by doing less. That's my hope in terms of strategy. Like right now, let's try to build out a network of nodes, and let them serve as LoRa gateways. And then, in terms of, as I said, try to build less to achieve more. Meaning, like not trying to develop a blockchain, not doing anything that's not strictly necessary to get it up and running, and then let the network grow, and then let the number of gateways grow, and achieve certain coverage. And then there are if it's built this way, like fairly open, then I think that there's a lot more potential in it. And then we already have some ideas how to add additional features to it. And that the reason I'm saying is that building it this way will give you a whole bunch of options, as opposed to I was never a Helium insider, obviously, so I cannot speak for from that perspective. But I found Helium to be less open, or their direction is already set, and then going into a certain direction, while our approach is a lot more open, and then the way it was built gives you a lot of options and possibilities, and for future features.
We know for a fact that Helium is, because that's where they have investors putting their money in. And, voting wise, lately it's all been about 5G, which leaves this IoT market, up for grabs is the way I'm looking at it. Do you think that Crankk can be the answer to having a robust system that can handle these IoT devices, and can, I don't say that you want to steal users from Helium necessarily, but do you see this being something that, almost a million hotspots out there from Helium could, at some point in time, simply move over?
Yeah, the hope is certainly that, and then I would agree with you the way you characterized it. Sorry for coming back to my previous train of thought, but I think that if you building something, building the necessary blocks, and what we've been doing, building as little as necessary to achieve our key goals. I think it's key to a long-term possibilities, because you don't. I've been a developer all my career, so I ran into these problems before, that if you overbuild something, then it's gonna you're gonna be stuck with it. So building as much as needed to achieve as much as possible is definitely a good way to build, and then that keeps us open. I think the key point is that my vision, or our vision, is to keep us being open to new possibilities. IoT is a kind of thing that welcomes a new technology every couple of years, right? New versions of Bluetooth, new development on LoRa, and then of course there are other networks as well. So I would very much like to keep us open for these upcoming new possibilities, and then even with the existing technology, even with the existing IoT technologies, there are a bunch of other ideas that we can include and implement. And then, of course, keeping us open to quickly include new technologies is also a definite goal.
Yeah, and if you don't mind me circling back, I think I fixed it. When we're talking about, like you were just talking about open and closed ecosystems and stuff like that, I see ICP. This is another. I would consider it IoT, Internet Computer Protocol. It's very closed. It's not open source. A lot of like miners for it are not open source. Like there's certain select manufacturers, stuff like that. And some could argue Helium is headed down the same route. So I'm glad that you guys are taking an open approach from the very start, because I think that's how you get the most long-term contributors, you get the most long-term support, and your product is going to be here to stay, basically.
Yeah, I mean, mentioning the community, openness, open technologies, and then talking about the community, I think that if I started a project that was trying to do the same, but not in the Kadena ecosystem, we would still probably be looking for our first customers. While having done it on Kadena, there's already, I mean, the attention, and then the friendliness, and people in general with very positive attitudes, and hoping for the development of not just this project, but obviously the entire ecosystem is, I think, ended. I mean, this turned out to be a very good strategy. Not that we were so conscious about it, but when you get lucky, don't complain.
You hear that, guys? We're friendly.
Yep, absolutely.
Not you.
Oh, God.
Yeah, well, yeah, I appreciate that remark. And many of us in the Kadena ecosystem, even me at the KPN, I was one of the first people. Like when I noticed you, I was like, oh, we got to get an AMA with these guys. So I'm glad this is like, that was a few months ago too. So I'm glad we finally hit our mark. And yeah, it's been a great talk so far. That's great. Okay. Next question would be kind of more related to, where do you see Crankk in 5 years? Do you see it going in some sort of like Unix path, where there will be a bunch of forks going into place? Do you see it as like one of those select products? There's contributors to it, and it's like more of a community-oriented growing project.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes it's not that easy to get your background noise a little bit, makes it sometimes a bit harder to get the question. But I think I did, or at least I did get the part of how we see the future of the project and how much like community contributed. But I love community contributed projects, and I love open source projects. And then we are gonna take the steps to try to satisfy all the requirements that set us up for growth. So whenever we think of something that could be made more open, then we will. And then that's in terms of general direction. That's absolutely my goal, to take it towards a community contributed project as much as possible.
Thank you for that. I apologize for the background noise. I was trying to go outside. My phone got a little bit cooler, but yeah, obviously you hear a bunch of wind. I'm in upstate New York right now, so weather is very unpredictable. Let's just say that. So sorry about that. Um, I guess when it comes to like, my next question is, when can we see like the Crankk token going liquid? and scaling of operations of sorts too. I guess that's two questions. So answer as you will.
Sure. The Crankk token going liquid, working on it, and then I know that so far has not been the Crankk token has not appeared on DEXs, but that's one of the primary goals. So you don't have to wait too long for us to get there. What was the second question?
When can we kind of see like a scaling of I guess what's the process of scaling operations? Can you explain like when new chains open up and stuff like that?
Sure. I mean, first of all, our focus is on besides the blockchain security, we are working on beefing up the rest of the infrastructure security. That's one of my primary focuses right now, and then that is one of the most important steps toward scalability. Otherwise, we've been in contact with manufacturers and distributors, and we are also working on enabling us, or let's say, enabling us to deploy images on manufacturers' devices. We are actively working on those that will enable us to enable the project to enable manufacturers to release devices as Crankk miners, so those are the primary focuses for now, and I think that this period will take a few weeks, maybe a couple months, and then hopefully by the end of this hopefully short period, will be set up for explosive growth.
Awesome. Yeah, glad to hear it. So you talked a little bit earlier about talking with different manufacturers about partnerships. Are there any other departments in the IoT space that you are actively looking for partnerships in?
Not sure I totally get the question. Could you please rephrase?
Yeah. So essentially, when it comes to like IoT and stuff like that, there's the manufacturing side of things, there's the interoperability side of things. What are you most actively like looking for in a partnership?
I mean, for now, what's Helium's premise? Like, deploy a community-operated network, IoT network with global coverage. So I would very much like us to grow our coverage, as is the primary goal. But at the same time, what will bring income for the network to be distributed among node operators is definitely, we need to start looking for customers as well. And then I think that you can start. I mean, you need to start pretty early looking for customers, even when your coverage is not global. There are a huge number of possibilities where you can find customers, for maybe even a little bit specialized applications. But in terms of goals, grow the network as quick as possible, provide coverage in certain areas at least that can count as coverage, sufficient coverage in that area, and then start looking for customers at the same time. But hoping that won't be that hard either, as exposure growth.
And I can speak for what I've seen in Helium is that they did not necessarily plenty of people that would love a decentralized application that can use for IoT coverage. So that's something I actually haven't had a chance to talk to you about, Peter. So I definitely want to connect with you and kind of guide you towards a few people that would probably love this and want to get on the network, next week maybe. Large companies, that are servicing Walmarts all over the country. So there's an opportunity, and I think it's been one of those things that I don't know how Helium really approached people or focused on the smaller guys. They have definitely been trying to make big partnerships, but they never thought about the little guys. The people that might not be a billion-dollar company, but some people are making a few $1 million a year, and if you have enough of those, you have a viable product.
Yeah, I thanks for that. I fully agree. There was a time 4 or 5 years ago where we developed a product called Amsterdam City Tracker. By Amsterdam, because Amsterdam had LoRa coverage to some degree, at least like 7 years ago, and I was not afraid to target the local market with a LoRa tracker, and yeah, I fully agree that use cases are all over. And then if you're lucky, you'll find those.
Yep, I can see that. We were all just switching around the mute thing. Sorry. I think that's really all the questions from me. I'm gonna open it up to the public. If anyone wants to ask Peter or Action a question regarding, anything IoT or Crankk related, feel free. And then Action and Peter, if you guys have any remarks before I start accepting people up here.
So, any questions from the attendees, please?
You know how it is. People are just shy. That's all. Feel free.
Yeah, guys. No question is a stupid question. Okay, so feel free to come up.
So Peter, what are your plans as far as listing the token? When it comes to listing itself, do you foresee the token being listed in one platform, or would you want to see the token listed in multiple platforms at the same time? What are your thoughts behind that?
Sure. Yeah, I would see it being listed on multiple exchanges. I just saw KadeSwap announced that you can set up your own pair. I will discover that as well. And then with the help of the Kadena people, I'd like to be introduced to DEX operators, and then just have a discussion, and then figure out a good plan to get Crankk listed.
Oh, that's going to happen. You don't have to worry about that.
Okay, thank you.
Hi there, guys. Yeah, there's definitely a couple of dexes that we got out there that can get some liquidity pairs on there for you, and whether that's KD Swap, or CADX. There's definitely people out there in the space that want to help out with that. But yeah, I just wanted to say I appreciate the space. Good to see you, Action. Thanks, KPN. I'm a big Helium guy as well, just anything into mining. And, I've got two minted, little hotspots, one sitting at my place and the one over at my parents' place, just kind of mining away. And like you've said, they've, when they took that blockchain approach, they've had issues ever since with network being down and issues with manufacturing as well. There was a backlog on a lot of them, and now, market's down and mining rewards are so down that they're a lot cheaper than they even were, and plenty available, and they almost kind of produced so many that it kind of flooded the network with so many miners it diluted the rewards for everybody. So I was wondering what your guys' kind of plan were for the manufacturing side of things and sourcing hardware.
Yeah, thanks for the question and the explanation as well. I mean, what I can say that these plans, we are so early, these plans are not hashed out completely yet. But as a general, in general, we would be talking to manufacturers, but we have our own vision as well. So what I meant to say was that I would not like to deviate from that vision, even when talking to manufacturers. And then I think that the long-term growth is the most important. And then the seeing or having seen what has been happening in the helium space, I think that you need to figure out a way and grow in a way that is set up well for long-term growth and growing participation. And then there's I guess when you're growing, then mistakes are easy. It's easy to make mistakes, and then only in retrospect you will find out that, well, maybe that decision was good for certain level of growth at that time, or we wanted more growth, so we did get more growth. But I'm seeing it as a long-term vision, not just in terms of communication, but more in practice, that we need to grow in a way that will serve long-term growth the best way possible, and then keep people satisfied as much as possible, and then don't diminish the chance of benefiting the late joiners as well. Of course, benefiting the early adopters, because risk reward. Early joiners definitely more risk, and then logically more reward. But in terms of long-term growth, I want to keep it in a way that later joiners can benefit as well, and then see the returns on their investment as well. In terms of there was a question like trying to leverage the multi-chain nature of Kadena. I think that was one of the ideas, that a new chain would be opened up after a certain number of nodes, and then kind of the higher reward situation would be resurrected at those times.
Okay, cool, great. Thanks for the answer. Yeah, you definitely kind of have to, take a measured approach to things in a long-term perspective, and, walk before you can run, and, not overpromise anything, and, make sure you have a good growth strategy. So, and that takes time. And, I'm really interested in the project, similar to Action. I'm a big Helium guy, and really love what you guys are doing and bringing it to a use case that we haven't seen yet to the Kadena ecosystem. So, yeah, we'll definitely be on the lookout and keep in touch. Appreciate it.
Thank you very much for the questions and all the sharing of your experiences. Thank you.
Of course, thank you.
Peter, if you're there, I'd like to ask, do you have a white paper out yet?
I'm sorry, could you please repeat the question?
Peter, does Crankk have a white paper out?
Oh, I'm not sure. I get the question completely, but probably no.
Oh, so they're wondering if you have a white paper out. So right now.
Oh, okay. Sorry.
Yeah.
We have a light paper out, and then we are working on a white paper. Yeah.
And the other thing I'd like to ask is, I don't know if you know enough yet about your hardware. Will 2 miners be required position, to get maximum performance and throughput?
Right. I mean, that will not be required even in the midterm. That was as explained in the light paper. I didn't want to allow for, a single miner without any communication to any other existing nodes to be rewarded the same way as a node that with proven coverage. So that's a temporary measure, and then it will not be required in the future.
Right. Thank you.
Sure. Well, looks like we are coming up on time shortly.
Yeah. Thank you everyone for coming on. Thank you, Peter. Thank you, Action, for joining in. I really appreciate it. It's been a really good AMA. And Peter, for your first AMA, you did great. I can't wait until we have you on again in the future. And sorry if I'm a little bit off today. If the background noise was getting a little too loud. I'm not in the best conditions right now, but I appreciate it. So thank you. Thank you everyone for listening.
Yeah, thank you very much for toughing it out, and then even in those under those circumstances, being the host, really appreciate it. And then thank you for all your excellent questions. And then it's just very warming to get these questions and the positive attitude and giving us the benefit of the doubt. And then we'll be working hard to achieve those goals, and then to grow Crankk into a successful network. And as I said, this was my first AMA. I did my best. Hopefully, you guys got some answers, and that were explanatory. And I hope I managed to give you some extra information that you were curious about. Thank you very much.
You rocked the Peter, and at the end of the day, honest man, we're going to grow the. You just focus on coding and making sure that the platform can actually support all the people that are going to be coming on to. So thank you so much.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, and talk to you guys next time.
That wraps up another amazing AMA. Thank you for listening. Here at KPN, we strive to bring an open platform for projects being built on Kadena to present themselves to the community. Please ensure to do your own research on each project before investing. Also, make sure to follow us on our social media, from Twitter to subscribing to our weekly newsletter. All the links can be found directly on our SoundCloud profile page. Thank you very much for listening, and take care.